Hello. If you're seeing this video, it's most likely through Reddit. This is where I'm going to be, posting the video. I'm making it in response to a post I had made in the GTA 5 Customs subreddit. It was a post partially criticizing other pictures I had seen, but the other half it was, suggesting and sort of explaining on how to make them better using the Rockstar editor. Someone, replied and they pointed out they would have preferred if I just went more in depth with how to use the editor instead of, criticizing other pictures. I don't want to be any sort of, photo police or photo Nazi in the sub, but I just noticed, a number of pictures that weren't very high quality or didn't seem like they really got they had a whole lot of effort put into them. It's people taking pictures of their TV screen itself, and stuff like that. I'm just like, you could do a lot better very easily. It's totally up to you what you do. The mods don't seem to really care either way, but you're there to show off your vehicle. That's the whole point of the sub. You want to show off your custom made vehicle. Might as well accompany it with a pretty good picture. And so I'm just here to hopefully help other people that might not understand how to use the editor, and maybe give some some small tips on how to do things easier or better, and hopefully that'll lead to higher quality pictures and just better pictures in the sub, and just make it better for everybody. Picture taking, I think, is pretty fun. Doesn't even matter if it's just of the car. It's just in general, I think it's fun in games, and I enjoy doing it. And I think it's very simple to get good pictures. So, the first thing is obvious. You need to find whatever car you want to use. I chose this car. I want to take some pictures of this car personally, so I'm just going to use this one. The next two big things you want to focus on are, what's your environment? What is your backdrop? I'm sure that's probably very obvious, but maybe it isn't. Determine what setting you want your car to be in. I think for a muscle car, some sort of downtown industrial sort of area, I think that fits pretty well. And then the other thing is, your time of day or your weather. You're kind of stuck with whatever the game gives you. It's on this day-night cycle. The weather is random. You just have to kind of deal with whatever there is. If you don't like it, you just gotta wait. Or you just gotta hope that what you want shows up. I prefer myself, sort of early morning to midday lighting, and this is what I currently have. And so we're just gonna get into recording footage. It just depends. Do you want your car stationary somewhere, or do you want it to be moving? Personally, I usually like it moving, and for this demonstration, I'm gonna do that. So before I start doing anything, I'm going to start the recording itself. So in the game, you're going to, on a controller, I don't know how to do this on a keyboard, but on a controller, you're going to bring up your character screen, your character wheel, and on the left side of the screen, you're going to see anything that says start recording. Hit X to start that, for me, and now it's recording, and you can see a progress meter on the left side of the screen that shows me, how much is recorded, and all that. So from here, I'm just going to drive around this area just a little bit. And we'll just say we'll drift around this corner, and that'll probably give us an interesting shot. Something like that. We'll just do that. So that's the footage I want. I want to save that. So what you're going to do again, is you're going to hold down the D-pad and hit the same button you hit to start recording, which will then this time save the recording. If you let the meter fill all the way up, it'll automatically save whatever footage has been recorded, and it'll start a brand new recording automatically after it saves it. For all this, I'm going to get one more shot of my car burning out. Let's see here, get the light right. So I'm going to start my recording. Do this. Alright, that's all I need. Save it. So, this guy's coming after me for some reason. So those are the two clips that I wanted to save. So now we need to actually get to editing the footage and finding the right shot that we want to then take a picture of. And so in order to do that, we need to go back to story mode. And you can just, with any of the main 3 characters, just go back with any of them. Okay, now I'm back in story mode. So my next step is pausing the game, going all the way over to the right until you get to Rockstar Editor. Hit yes. This will be the next screen. You're going to want to hit Create New Project, which is the first option. Now you're going to add your clips onto the timeline. This is, it's a video editor, so there's a lot of things about it that, are going to be a little bit more complicated maybe than they need to be, or you have more options than you really need. So, anyways, the first thing you do is just need to add whatever clips that you want to manipulate. So we're going to click this was the first one that I recorded. Hit OK. It's now added to the timeline. I always record probably, multiple clips. There's a lot of different shots that I want to try and get. So what I like to do is I like to add them all to the timeline first, because even though I can't edit and look at all of them at the same time, adding them to a timeline like this makes it easier to go in and out of them very quickly. Instead of, adding just one, doing whatever I want, and then I have to add a new one and then go into it. Now I can just go back and forth real quickly. So in order to add another clip to the timeline, I'm going to hit circle for project menu, which will bring me back to the previous menu. Hit add clip. Go in, select the next one, hit yes. And now is where I get to choose where in the timeline I actually add that clip. I want to add it after the first one, so I go all the way to the right, add. Now they're both on the timeline. So to actually edit and get a shot, we need to now click edit, which is X, and this will load up the clip, and then from there on I can edit it however I want. Okay, the clip has now been loaded, and now from this point I can manipulate and change all these different options. The main first thing that I need to go over is how do you go through the footage? How do you scroll through it? Okay, you can use the D-pad or you can use your right stick on a controller. This will allow me to fast forward through it. If I want to rewind it, do that. It's just left and right. This is using the stick. If I want to use the D-pad, which will let me scroll through it slower, you can see it goes a lot slower. It's just left and right on the D-pad. But I want to get to that part where I took the corner. That's where I've determined that's probably going to be where I can get an interesting shot. So I'm going to scroll through it until I get to a point where I think would probably be a good shot. So we'll just say about there. So that's the part of the video where I think I can get a shot. Now I'm going to hit X to add a marker. This is going to sound more complicated than it really is. The marker just from that point you can change specific settings, and anything from that marker forward in the video will have all those settings applied to it. Anything before it will go back to what it was before that marker, and you can add markers all over the place. Again, that's for video stuff. It doesn't really matter with pictures. All you need to know is if you want to change any of these settings, you have to add a marker, and then you'll see this menu on the top left that'll pop up. There's all kinds of options here. The only ones you really need to care about are the first 3, which is cameras, depth of field, and effects. Those are all you really need for taking pictures. The other stuff is pretty useless. So the first one we're going to look at is cameras. This will let us actually move the camera itself all around this spot in the video without the footage actually moving. So it starts out in game camera because that's the camera that we were seeing when we were playing the game. But you want to move it over to free camera, and you're going to want to scroll down to edit camera. And then when you're in that, now you can move it all over the place as your footage stays still. Everything I'm doing right now is just with both sticks. If you want to zoom in and out, you can do that with the triggers. Simple. If I want to go straight up or down, I use the bumpers. That's pretty simple. And if I want to roll the entire camera, I just use the left and right on the D-pad. Now, no matter where you are, it'll always tell you what buttons do what and what your options are on the bottom of the screen, so you can even figure stuff out just by looking at that. So from here, I need to determine what exactly I want my shot to look like. So I need to find my camera angle. Take me a second. So we'll just say there, zoom in a little bit. Add a little bit of roll flare. So let's just say that's the camera angle I want. This is essentially the picture I want. Now we're going to go to the other options. So we're going to go back, and back again. We're going to go down to depth of field. We're going to change the focus over to custom. And now wherever my camera is pointed, I can change the intensity and everything, and it'll determine where the focus is and how much, around is blurred. You can use, left and right and D-pad or the left stick to change the intensity. At 100%, you can tell, everything is very blurry. I don't really want that. I just want the background kind of blurred, so we'll leave it at about 66%. That'll be fine. So that's your depth of field and focus option. Go out of that. Now we go down to effects. And this is where you can change your filters and your coloring and all that stuff. There's all kinds of filters here. You can scroll through. Go back to none. Change your saturation. Making things very vibrant. Or if you go, into the negatives, it'll change it to a black and white photo. Put it back to normal. You have stuff like contrast. The dark area is much darker. It's pretty easy to figure out. Brightness, I don't have to go over that. That's, all know what brightness is. Vignette, that'll darken the area around your focal point. Stuff like that. Just for this, we'll add a filter. We'll do that for the filter. I like that one. I don't need to change any of these other ones. So now I have my shot set up exactly how I want. Now I gotta get rid of all this HUD and UI and menus and all that. I need that off the screen. Very simple. Just click in the right stick. Clicked it, bam, it's gone. Click it again, it's back. Very easy to turn that off and on. And you can still manipulate these settings or fast forward and all that while you're in, while your HUD is gone. I'll see, you can move that back and forth. And you can see when I go on the timeline before, where I place my marker, you can see how all those settings I changed went back to what they were before. And right about there is where, I placed my marker and I made my changes. And actually, as you can see, I've determined I like this shot better, but my camera's messed up. I like how the exhaust are shooting at the flames. But now it's, out of my camera border, whatever you want to call it. So turn the UI back on, add a new marker, cameras, go back down to edit, and we'll just move this over just a little bit because I like that shot better. Okay, turn all that back off, and now my picture is how I want it, and I'm free to save it using whatever method I use. I'm just using a PS4, so I just hold down the share button. You won't see anything happen on the screen, but I've now saved my picture. Now I can continue doing whatever I need to. Turn that back on, get out of the camera, go through the footage. My car actually didn't leave the range of the camera too much. That's why it's probably still stuck here camera-wise, but you understand. So, let's see here, we'll go back way before this. There is one thing that explain what the different camera types that may make getting certain shots more efficient. Instead of just continuously scrolling and, you know, watching all your settings sort of change, or watching the camera go back to what it was before when it comes out of range. If you go into cameras, go back to free, and say before I determined I like this angle on the car, but I don't necessarily like, you know, maybe the angle of the sun or the backdrop. So what I want to do, go back to this menu. I want to turn on move with target. And we'll just leave it at player, so it's always moving with my player. And we want to change the mount type to rigid. And so from this point on, where, you know, no matter where my car moves, this will always be the camera angle past this marker. When you see me fast forward right here, you can see now the camera angle stays with the car, and it stays exactly how it was when I first set it up. And I find this very useful sometimes because it allows me to keep whatever camera angle I want while letting the entire backdrop and everything else change. So that might be useful. There's another thing I want to show you. So we'll go out of that clip. Now we'll go over to the other one I saved. Hit X, go into it. Now that one's been loaded up. Now we'll fast forward to a part where I've got a lot of smoke. Say that's a picture I wanted. Go hit a marker. Cameras, free camera, edit camera. Use my options to move it. Zoom in really close if I want. You know, something like that. So another thing that I've noticed is, if we go out of the camera, so when I'm fast forwarding like this, if I continue forward, the particle effects seem to stay consistent, you know, with the actual footage. As soon as I go back, you see they go away instantly. Go forward again. Oh, I hit Siri. I don't care, Siri, leave me alone.
I don't have it.
So, something about rewinding instantly deletes whatever sort of particle effects were happening, and so then you have to continue the footage forward again to get them kind of back. This also happens if you go back and forward and back with the D-pad, which is what I'm doing now. At that point, none of the effects ever show up. I don't know why. Something about the D-pad, just, it doesn't allow the effects to show up during any of it. Only when you're going forward, you know, fast forwarding with the stick do they really seem to show up, or if you just let the footage play out normally. Go back, we'll show it again. That's a normal sort of time. So this is something else to be mindful of. And, you know, there's other things to be mindful of, like, you know, when you're recording, make sure you get all the different angles and, you know, possible setups that you can, so you're not switching between a bunch of clips. You just have this one clip that has a bunch of different options. I mean, you're going to have multiple clips anyways, but be as efficient with them as you can. Make sure, you know, if you don't want any damage on your car, make sure there isn't any while you're recording, because you might not notice it at first, but when you go to, you know, edit the footage or something like that, you go, oh man, the whole left side of my car was scratched up and I didn't even notice, and now it has ruined all these different shots I could have gotten. Because you can't fix that in the editor. You gotta fix that in game. So pay attention to things, you know, like that. And, you know, there's all kinds of different shots you can get. Hey, so I'm recording this little bit right here a different day. There's something that I even discovered that I didn't know was there just recently. And so I wanted to add this little bit right at the end, and kind of in the middle of the end, as just an added-on thing, you know, another extra tip. There is a way, so currently, like, I have this camera angle set up. Now, if I want to go to effects, let's say I had like a filter, do like Inferno, just because I want to turn up the saturation a bit, turn up contrast a bit, just because, add a little bit of a vignette. So currently from this marker until the next, these settings, you know, that's what the whole shot's gonna look like. And let me just make this on real quick. So, you know, as I continue here, all those effects still apply. Once I go past that marker, obviously they'll go away. I already explained that previously. So, you know, if you have these markers set up, and instead of, you know, just deleting a marker and letting it continue, if for some reason you have multiple markers set up for whatever purpose you need, there's a way to get those exact settings again quickly. And so if we go right there to the marker, if we go back into effects, now down here on the very bottom right, you're going to see copy effects, and then it says to press the left stick in. So if I click that once, it has now copied them. And this is just like copying and pasting anything on a computer or anything like that. So it's copied it, it's ready to be pasted. Now if I continue forward past this second marker that I've applied, we'll just add another one just because right here. If we go back to an effects, and now I have an option on the very bottom right, it says paste effects. If I hit X, all those effects that I had before are automatically pasted now. The exact ones are now applied to this marker and from this point on. So that's just an extra little thing you can do if you have a bunch of markers and you need, you know, you want to apply one set of effects to the other one instead of going back trying to figure out exactly what you had and then going to the next one, putting them back on. You have that as an option. Okay, so after I just made that last clip that I'm going to add on to this video, I discovered another thing, and now I'm going to add a new clip to the end here. Just discovered this, just looking through everything, and this is something I want to put out there too. Explore this entire editor as much as you'd like. There's a lot to it. And as I've said before, you know, it's a video editor, so there's a lot that's not really going to apply to pictures. It's not going to affect them anyway. It just won't be of any use. But I still don't understand how to ever use everything. I don't know every single little option that there is. And so, as you can see, I'm still discovering things myself as I'm editing all of this. So, but I found this, and you know, it took me a second to figure out exactly how it all works. But I have a pretty good understanding of it now. I just want to add this out there too. Here's another tip for everybody. So let's add a clip. What was the one I was using? This one. So my clip's added to the timeline. Now if I go back in the project menu, which is again for me circle, you're gonna see an option down below that says add text. So I click that. Now I can add text to the screen. And just for instance, we'll put the word gauntlet. I've already used it before. You know, this is a gauntlet vehicle, so now this is added to the screen, and now I have all these other options I can change about it. So we'll leave the colors white, but you can make it all these different shades and colors. I'm gonna leave mine just white for now. You can change the font. There's all kinds. There's 13 different fonts. There's all kinds of ones. We'll just say I want that one. Opacity. That'll, you know, make it a little bit see-through, transparent. We'll just leave it at 100%. Edit size and position. Now I can use the left stick to move it around, and I can use the triggers to scale it up and down. We'll leave it, we'll just say something like that. And so here's the thing about this. For some reason, this isn't an option while you're actually editing the video. This is something you have to do back in the timeline. But you can add a duration to how long it stays on the screen long enough that while you're editing the video, it'll always be on your screen. And so it's a bit finicky. I don't know why they made it this, you know, obtuse. But we'll just say we'll leave it there on the screen. And now you're going to want to focus on duration. If I leave it just 3 seconds, when I go into the video, it'll just last for 3 seconds on the screen, then it'll disappear. I want it to last as long as possible. So if I actually go all the way to the left until I hit about 0, it'll then go back to the, you know, the end, the max amount. It seems like, I don't know, 31 seconds almost seems to be like the max amount of time. So, um, just go all the way to 0 until it gets like the maximum amount of time, and then just leave it at that. And hit confirm and add the timeline. And then just, this is at the very beginning, so we just hit place. And now you're going to see this green bar along, the bottom here. And that represents that text, and it represents how long it stays. And so if you go up and down the D-pad, that'll swap between the video and the text itself. And so if I left it on the text, if I left the text part highlighted, if I hit edit, it's just going to ask me to edit the text. I don't want to do that. Now I want to go into the actual video, so I want to press up on the D-pad. So now it's highlighting the blue, which represents the video itself. Now I'm going to hit edit. That's going to bring me actually into the clip to then edit. And if I turn it off, so now you can see it's on my screen. So if we go to camera, edit camera, just say, that would be a shot I want. And now I have this text on my screen. And maybe that, maybe you want that. Maybe that's of some use. You can add, it helps add some flair to your picture that not everybody has. I don't know what the limits are to how many words you can add, how long a word can be. I don't know if you can add profanity. I haven't tried any of that, but this is just another option you have to add to your picture. As you can see, again, it's kind of weird how it all works. It should just be an option while you're editing, because it's these two things you have to go back and forth on. It's kind of annoying. But so there is that, and whatever you make, that's dependent on you now. These are just the tools that you have. Hopefully I've explained how to use them well enough. If I didn't, reply to this post and, ask me if I didn't explain anything specifically. Ask me about a certain thing. I don't know how to use the editor super well, especially when it comes to like video stuff, but I can figure, certain things out. I understand a number of things. So if I need to explain anything further, I can. But hopefully I've covered, all the basics. How you get the photos from your console or PC to Reddit, that's kind of up to you. Personally, I stick a USB into my PlayStation, copy them onto there. Then I stick that into a laptop. I upload those to a website called Flickr, and then through there I can post them places, or there's all kinds of options you have depending on what you're doing. That's just what I do. So yeah, that's about it. Like I said, hopefully I covered everything. I don't usually do commentary videos like this, so I'm sorry if it's not good quality. I'm just using my gaming mic. I'm sure you can hear all kinds of different mouse sounds that you don't want to hear. I apologize on that. Hopefully this video didn't run too long. I've had to do this recording multiple times because it didn't come out right, or I messed up, or I took too long and it didn't save the entire thing. Yeah, that's about it. Thanks.